Converting between degrees and radians, as discovered in the last video, we've started to introduce another way of measuring angles, which is radians. And we said that 360 degrees was equal to 2 pi radians, or 2 pi rad, which also meant that 180 was equal to pi radians. And obviously if we continued to go down from 180 to 90, well, 90 is half of 180, so in radians that must be pi over 2 radians. And if we went down again from 180 to 60, well, that is a third of it, so it's pi over 3 radians. And from 180 to 30 is a sixth of it, so it's pi over 6 radians. And if you did 45, you could see that that was pi over 4. However, that's great when you've got a nice number like that, but what happens when you've got something like, in a minute we're going to look at 28 degrees and we want to convert that into radians? Well, what we want to do is we want to find out what 1 degree is equal to in radians. So if we look at our point here, that 180 is equal to pi radians, let's try and use that to help us with this problem. So 180 degrees is equal to pi radian. Well, if I divide this left hand side by 180, I must also do it to the right hand side. So that means that 1 degree is equal to pi over 180. So this should now help us to find out what 28 degrees is, because we want 28 lots of the 1 degree. So 28 degrees is equal to 28 pi over 180 radians. Now, if you can simplify the fraction, you should do this. Well, 28 over 180, you can divide both sides, both the top and the bottom, by 4, which means it's equal to 7/45 of pi radians. There's no need to pick up your calculator and find out what that is. That is the most accurate answer in that form. So when you're dealing with radians, you want to leave in the pi. Now, also we want to know how to get from radians back into degrees. Well, to do that, we're told we want to find out what 5/7 of pi is in degrees. So we're going to divide our 5/7 of pi. We're going to divide it by what we know 1's equal to, which is pi over 180. And you should know that when you're dividing by a fraction, you flip the second fraction and you multiply. So flip it and multiply. And what you should notice is that you've got a pi and a pi here, where they're going to cancel each other out. So we're going to be left with 5/7 of 180. Which, if you calculate that, you get the answer 128.6 degrees. So the real key thing here is to remember that 1 degree is equal to pi over 180 radians. And if you remember that fact, you should be able to convert any degrees into radians and vice versa.